already familiar with the concept of deficit rating, but to just make sure we're on the same page, deficit rating is when it's cheaper to pay for an additional amount of weight, called the deficit weight, to get you to the next highest rate tier, so that it's more cost effective to just pay for that additional weight. In Revenova, previously, deficit rating was applied through our integration with SMC3 Rateware. With this PI, we're enabling deficit rating in the rate entry directly to support our Canadian carriers that aren't necessarily using SMC3 tariffs. All right, let's jump in and take a look. So on the rate entry, we've added 2 new fields, this enable deficit rating as well as this maximum deficit rating weight field. So those are going to be conditionally rendered anytime you select a rate method that is weight-based. So if you did per pound billable, per kilogram, and so forth, all the way down to per ton. If you select any of those weight-based rate methods, as well as an access type of weight, we will then conditionally show you these 2 fields. So the deficit rating checkbox, when it's true, the system will look at the next tier, and we will only go to the next highest tier. We'll never jump tiers, to see if the load weight multiplied by the rate of that tier is going to be cheaper than the load actual weight. So what I mean by that is, hypothetically, if I have a load that's 490 pounds, if I were to multiply that by 1.3, that's going to put us a little over $600. But if the customer wants to do deficit rating for this tier, the lowest rate for that tier is 500 pounds. So if I did 500 multiplied by 1.1, that would put us at around $550. So again, paying that extra additional 10 pounds in deficit weight is actually going to save them roughly $100. So the maximum deficit rating field, this basically stops deficit rating at any weight above what you have displayed here. So this is an optional field. It does not need to be filled out. But jumping in to see deficit rating in action. So on the load, I've pre-built this one. I've got a load with a weight of 490 pounds. Again, it's going to use the load total weight. It is not looking at the individual line item weight. So using the load total weight, deficit rating was cheaper, so we applied that deficit rate. If I go into the FQA, you can see that there is this new handy-dandy note here that explains what the load weight was and why it was rated at 500 pounds, and then as well as the new unit price showing that deficit rate amount. Clicking into an example of a customer invoice document, that note that was displayed in the FQA is also available on the document. And this is controlled, so if you don't want that to be displayed on your document, you can do in TMS admin document options, remove the show freight and fuel notes section here, and then that will remove this from being displayed on your customer invoices. And then last but not least, we also include the deficit information in outbound 210s. So if you are invoicing your customers via EDI, they can still see that deficit information as well. All right. So deficit rating within Revenova ensures that your customers are getting the cheapest rate possible, because we're automatically comparing the 2 weight tiers and choosing the cheapest option for them. And then on the flip side, for carrier customers within Revenova, it's going to help make sure that they aren't losing money on those smaller, low weight shipments.